It's time for another episode of Tucson Means Business, featuring Tucson's top entrepreneurs and leaders in the business world. And now your host, Mark Bishop.
And welcome everybody to another Tucson Means Business, proudly sponsored by the 49ers Golf and Country Club with the infamous Rincon Grill, the hidden jewel of the desert. And boy, what a time, of course. But hey, the grill is open as far as correct sanitizing and spacing is concerned, and of course takeaway food. And the golf is happening still, sheets between players and so on. So just to keep that in mind, if you're visiting town and you'd like to go out, the 49ers is open and doing it. And they bring us this show. We do a couple a month, maybe sometimes 4 a month, depending. I try to get very interesting people. And it's to help local businesses in Tucson and the surrounding area where we like to promote them. And my particular guest today is going to be SparkPartners.com. Keep that in mind. Spark Partners. Okay, they're in North Anita Avenue in Tucson, and my special guest is Manny. He's Manny Turan. He's the managing partner of Spark Partners here today on Tucson Means Business. Hola, Manny.
Hello there. How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for joining us, mate, on what is a very, very windy day in Tucson. I don't usually date the podcast because they're on forever and you never know who's going to hear them, and they might be coming here, so I don't want to put them off saying it's super windy, but today's most unusual because we haven't had a lot of rain, so far this year. We've got a bit of a dry winter going on, and to see the wind, wow. Well, anyway, you grew up in Douglas, not in Tucson, which is in Arizona, of course, and you loved spending time in the Boy Scouts. I think the band, too. You were in the trumpet. You play the French horn, is that right? And a drama club.
That's right. Yeah. So I grew up in Douglas, which is in Cochise County, right on the border of Mexico and about 35 miles from New Mexico. And it was a great place to grow up because it gave me access to the outdoors. I was, a latchkey kid. I'd walk to school in second grade, and I'd come back home and pull my key out and go inside. And it was just a different generation, a different place, and I really enjoyed growing up in Douglas.
Well, there are a nice lot of towns throughout Arizona, and I believe Douglas is one of them. This business with the Boy Scouts, I can't let this go, particularly with what's been on the news lately. I can't get over what's going on. Did you have any issues at all when you were in the Scouts?
No, not at all. So I grew up without a father. He passed away when I was just a year old. So for me, Boy Scouts was a way to get some really good, positive leadership examples from lots of different people, including my Scoutmaster.
Yep.
And we'd go camping about once a month, and I really learned a lot of skills on leadership and enjoyed the outdoors. So never had any problems with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, so was I. I got through to a Queen Scout, and my son as well. I made sure he was in it in Australia. And the reality is I never had any issues. We never didn't. I just can't get over what's going on. It's such a shame what's happened to them because I think that there's a lot of men out there in business all across America and, in fact, around the world that the Scouts shaped, their beginning in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we touched on Douglas. It's a fun place to grow up in. You graduated from the University of Arizona with a degree in mechanical engineering and was regent of Theta Tau Engineering Fraternity. Did I get that right?
You did, indeed,
okay.
Yes.
How did that play out for you?
It was a great opportunity, again, to continue to hone my leadership skills in being able to organize a semi-professional engineering fraternity. It gave me exposure to lots of different disciplines in engineering, and it was just a good opportunity for me to find an extension of what I liked in the form of a club, of a fraternity, and was there for 3 years and became regent, which is the equivalent of president, and made a lot of connections, and it really helped to define the direction that I went in my business. In that I started as a mechanical engineer, but the interpersonal dynamics and the people dynamics is what led me to become more of a businessman than anything else.
Well, in fact, you went on to become an award-winning business leader and entrepreneur with expertise in the areas of innovation, rapid technology deployment, and sales and marketing. And I think it was in fact, 2011, you launched Aztira an engineering product development company, which
Yes.
quickly grew to be a hub of innovation in southern Arizona. Some of the listeners may recall that. What actual type of products with this particular company, Manny, did you produce?
So we did a lot of things with the aerospace and defense industry. We did projects for some medical device projects, and then we did a lot of projects for energy. And our group had mechanical, electrical, and software engineers on staff. So many of the projects we worked on included all three disciplines. So a lot of embedded systems, a lot of test and measurement type systems. So you can imagine, we'll just use a car as an example.
Mm-hmm.
There's many systems on a car, from the tires to the engine to the air conditioning and all that. And you can imagine each of those systems needs to be designed and tested. And so we did a lot of the testing side of that continuum. And it was a great time for me and for my company. Ended up closing it down in 2018. But during the reign of Azterra, we worked on a couple hundred different projects. I had many employees and many good team leaders that went on to work at other places like Raytheon, and it was a good time.
Very good. Well, it gave you wonderful experience, no doubt, for, the rest of your career and where you're at now and what you're heading into, which we're going to get into a little later on. You started to look at emerging trends, from what I was reading, in medical devices and shifted to become CEO of, I think it's SciOx, is that right?
Correct.
It's a medical device company focused on helping people suffering from COPD to breathe easier. I was interested in this because I have a touch of COPD, so I know, and I've gone through lots of testing and God knows what, it's not easy. So why the shift? Why, the better income? Was it people, potential of more money, or was it really the cause? What turned you on about that?
I would say it was primarily shifting away from a service-based industry, a service-based company. So in Azterra, we were continuously looking for new projects, which was positive in one side because it allowed the engineers to work on a multitude of different projects, but it was difficult to run as a business because it basically required constant searching for new projects, and we couldn't really reuse any of the things that we designed. So I wanted to find a device or a product to design and sell. And that's where January of this year, we started a company called SciOx. We are commercializing a technology that was developed originally at the University of Arizona, and it helps people with COPD to breathe easier.
That sounds excellent. You remind me, actually, of me a little. You don't like to sit still for very long, do you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, you have applied your vast cross-market experience to launch hundreds of successful commercialization projects, support the growth of established businesses, and I guess you've helped many startups launch their companies to sustainable revenue. Can you share with us some examples, perhaps, of these successes, Manny?
Yeah, so I wanted to share, there's lots of examples, but there's one or two that really come out and help to refuel my fire. And there was a gentleman who had worked at Raytheon and had an idea that to design and build a new kind of yoga mat. And he came to me and we mapped out a process to do the design and the sales and the marketing and the supply chain. And in a matter of about 6 months, we're able to take him from nothing to a going concern, a business, and really help him to live the kind of life he wants to live, which is traveling. And he's able to do everything remotely, especially even now during COVID. This is obviously before COVID, but he was able to do that. And that was kind of a nice testament to bring together all the elements that I have learned in my career to help him put his business together.
Well, it got me fascinated. I'm trying to visualize a boring, plain old roll-it-out yoga mat into what on earth could it be?
So I'll give you just a quick vision of what it is. So his technology, or his really innovation, is a double-wide yoga mat that is also an area rug. So it allows people to leave it in place and do their yoga or do their exercise in their living room without having to roll it out and roll it back up every time they do their workout. So it can actually stay in place. It looks like a regular air rug, but it provides some of the other features of a yoga mat, like it can absorb the the sweat, and it doesn't get yucky like a Turkish rug might get, or Persian rug.
Right. Okay, nifty. And I thought there might have been something mechanical in there or technologically with, maybe telling you how long you've been there for, what exercises you've done, or what you're supposed to still do, something like that,
Well, at the end of the day, there's all kinds of solutions to all kinds of problems. And part of what we do at Spark Partners, and then just in general, is help people really identify their true value, whatever that might be. And especially if we can align it to a trend, that's where you see the most success.
Very interesting. And I'm speaking with Manny Turan. He is the partner and founder of Spark Partners, along with Adam Hartong. You're hearing it here on Tucson Business Radio X, brought to us by the 49ers Golf and Country Club. Okay, so let's dive into Spark Partners. Manny, what is the mission here?
So the mission of Spark Partners is to help educate the business leader. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an intrapreneur, which is basically the same concept, but inside a larger corporation, where we want to empower people to help align their business with emerging trends and in an effort to find sustainable success. Right. Sustainable success is really the name of the game that we all really want. We have different ways of calling it, but at the end of the day, we want to put something in place that's going to be able to generate income for ourselves, for our family, create jobs, and then give back to the community in a manner that we're not starving, we're not gasping for air every quarter, that we're able to really get to that high level of sustainable success that we all want.
Well, that sounds sort of way out there and pretty generic, so I guess we're going to zero in on how, what, and why with this. For now, we're sort of introducing your partners. I think I got that right, Hartong?
Yep, Adam Hartong, exactly.
Adam Hartong, and the partnership is a rising platform offering coaching, community, and online courses to help leaders identify, classify, and develop innovations to conquer their market. It sounds pretty good from a point of view of, look, we've created this, there it is, blah, blah, but really you haven't expanded the mind, or you haven't really opened up anything, what you could be doing with this thing, or where it could go, or the additions that you need to ensure this particular thing's success. Am I sort of right there? Yeah.
Yeah. So what we want to do with our clients is we want to empower them with the knowledge, and really it comes down to a mindset shift that will enable them to make some very tough decisions in order to grow their business. Let me give you an example that might tie everything together, including the concept of disruptive innovation, which is basically an innovation that creates its own market and disrupts the incumbent market. A great example is what happened with Blockbuster and Netflix. So you can imagine and remember, right? You remember Blockbuster? There's one on every street corner.
Well, yeah, I remember it was the thing and the big thing, and it was the great franchise to get into, and boom, boom, boom. You make it a fortune with the thing.
Right, and for the longest time, they were at the top of their game. But what happened is a small little company called Netflix came with a new business model, a new disruptive innovation of being able to take the DVDs and ship them to you. You'd go online, you'd pick out what you wanted, you'd push a few buttons, and then in 3 or 4 days, somebody delivered them to your door. You'd watch the DVD. When you were done, you put them back in the mail, and that was their disruptive innovation.
Yeah, cumbersome when you think about it, right?
It was, but at the time, it was less cumbersome than Blockbuster.
Right.
Because at Blockbuster, you'd have to jump in your car, and you had to go there, and maybe they didn't have the movie you wanted. And so what's crazy is that at one time, Netflix actually approached Blockbuster and said, hey, listen, why don't you partner with us or buy us out, and we will help you with the distribution of the DVDs and all that. And the answer from Blockbuster was, there's the door. Take it.
Typical head in the sand. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet you they kick themselves now, mate.
Well, they're gone, right? They're gone. And so what took 35 years to build up, the whole supply chain and market of DVD and VHS rentals, was dismantled in 16 months by Netflix. And the beauty of Netflix is they reinvented themselves 2 more times. They took the cash cow of this DVD delivery business, and they basically said, we're going to change direction. We're going to close a bunch of these warehouses, and we're going to take all that cash and we're going to dump it into these 50 engineers to develop something new called streaming. And of course, we know where that story went. So they basically, they innovated their own brand, their own company, and they created disruption in the streaming business. And then when that became a commodity, they just did it one more time when they became a production house. So their true value is the delivery of entertainment. So that's an example of a disruption and
very good.
That's done it right.
Well, I read a story last night. It blew me away because I love flying. I used to be a private pilot, and I like cars. And I think it's Toyota have released the first flying car now. So
that's amazing.
There's the disruption on reverse engineering that. What would be the prior?
Well, so a trend is one of the 4 major trends that we talk about at Spark Partners is mobility. Mobility is the action of being able to take your business and work anywhere, and the ability to have to dial a few numbers and have something delivered to your door, like lunch, right? And so the more you can align yourself with mobility, the better chance of success that you have. Tesla's a great example of a disruptive innovation in that they weren't the first to create the electric car, but they were the first to create it with the end in mind of, okay, you're going to need to charge this thing. So how are we going to do it? So Elon Musk, whether you like him or not, was brilliant enough to lay out the framework of a charging network and provide a really high-end car, which, by the way, nobody thought anybody would spend $100,000 on a car, an electric car, but they do, and they continuously innovate and create new value for their customers.
Well, there you go. Well, so your partner, Adam, he says, don't plan for what you know, plan for what you don't know. That makes
Correct.
a lot of sense, doesn't it? So the partner's focus really, on driving results through the, proven and systematic approach to prepare both novice, and of course you get veteran business owners as well, but to lead through the planning, preparation, and execution. All right, now I'm to understand you both are driven to spark discussions and provide concrete strategies to those eager to create businesses that don't just survive, but also thrive. How do you go about that?
So if we take a half step back and look what a lot of consultants do, which is to help companies align themselves with a mission statement, or sometimes they're more on the operational side and help them to make something better, faster, cheaper, and all that. And oftentimes they take this strategic plan, they build it with the company, and then the company takes that plan and puts it on the shelf, and they don't see it, they don't operate it, they're not involved with it. And so what we do at Spark Partners is we help to empower the entrepreneur and business leader so that they have the courage really to make those really tough decisions, like when Netflix made the decision to walk away from the cash cow and go in a new direction, but in the end, it took them so much higher. So there's oftentimes some short-term pain when you are shifting your business model. But if you want to survive and even thrive, which is what we want, you've got to make some really tough decisions, and that's where we empower the business leader to do so.
That sounds darn good. I think I'll sign up myself. I've got some things I need doing. Just touching on Adam, because he couldn't make it today, but he's a world-renowned expert on innovation, strategy, and change management. And he has served on multiple boards, including audit chair for a NASDAQ-traded company, and has spoken at over 1,000 leadership events, both multi-company and single company, as a keynote speaker. And he presents and leads workshops on how to achieve faster growth via higher levels of innovation. So he's a pretty cluey fella, and he's your partner. How did you guys, sort of come together to do this, to set up Spark Partners?
Absolutely. So when I ran my business as Tara for many years, I was part of a group called Vistage. Vistage is a
I know
CEO,
Vistage, yes.
Yep, peer-to-peer group, and he came in as one of the speakers. And I was on the tail end of my time at Astera, and I was kind of thinking about what's next in my career. And just some things about what Adam said kind of got me thinking, in that, he's a brilliant thinker. He's a brilliant executioner as well. And I just thought, with my background in sales and marketing and running and starting businesses, and his background in taking businesses to the next level, if we partner up, we will be a very formidable group. And so I joined Spark Partners early this year, and ever since then we've been going 1,000 miles an hour.
Well, I've got to ask you about the Spark. Is it obvious? I mean, you created Spark?
Yeah, I asked Adam that, and it was just kind of a cool sounding name, and but if you can really fold it into whatever meaning you want. I mean, the way I see it, it goes back down to my days in Boy Scouts, where, if you remember, what does it take to create a fire?
Yep, simple thing like
fuel,
that. Yeah,
it takes fuel, it takes oxygen, and it takes spark.
There you go. A little bit of tenacity, a bit of elbow grease too.
Indeed.
Yeah, well, he's a bright fellow. I mean, his insights into business growth and overcoming organizational obstacles. He's been featured in over 600 journals. The research I could find out, including, notables like Inc., Adweek, Fortune, the Washington Times, and multiple radio and television interviews. So I'm looking forward to meeting him as well. In fact, I think I also read that he was named top leadership columnist for Forbes.com. That's got more than 90 million readers.
Yes, that's true.
That's pretty
Absolutely.
cool. Yeah, he's a leadership columnist for CIO magazine and a founding editor for the International Journal of Innovation Science, and so on and so on and so on. And a Harvard MBA with distinction. Woo!
Yes.
All righty. Now, we talked about disruptive innovation. That was cool. That gave me a good idea there. Why should business leaders and entrepreneurs innovate?
They need to innovate to grow and survive. You absolutely need to innovate. If you are a company that is producing something, at some point in time, there's going to be somebody else that's going to come in and produce something that will replace you. And so you need to start looking at what's coming next and make those tough decisions to realign your business to capitalize on what's coming next. So trends are massively important in business, and you've got to align yourself to what's coming next. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind.
And how do you find, how do I say this, the attitude towards accepting, what you're trying to share and teach and advise on? Is there, a cowboy mentality, head in the sand, or do you think the CEOs and C-suite boys now are opening their heads and minds a little more and listening?
You know what? It depends on the individual. And here's what we're doing at Spark Partners. We want to change people's mindsets. Rather than just give them some stale training, we want to actually change their mindsets. So when we developed the course, it's called Think Innovation. We worked with some experts in adult learning to create a system that actually helps to change your mindset. A lot of times, these companies, they know what's coming down the line. We know right now, you and I speaking on this, right now on this podcast, we know that in the future, there will be self-driving cars everywhere, right? But as business leaders, we often are not opening our eyes and our minds to the ability to do something about it. So I have a friend who works at a company that makes auto parts, and they know that there's a shift coming, but they're still aligned with the same mentality of, okay, well, it's somewhere down in the future, ... right? And they're not really aligning themselves correctly to prepare for that massive trend of self-driving cars. So there's so many business opportunities just there with self-driving cars. You can't even imagine.
Now, we're talking about, I come out of my home of a morning, and instead of me getting in the car and driving out or reversing out and then me in control and me driving to a destination, I can literally get into the car in the back seat and, whatever I've put in the computer or direction or talk, the driverless car will start up and do its thing and take me there.
Yep.
So what else could I have in the back seat if I wanted to sit there in the front seat? Maybe I could have magazines and newspapers that are in there or something. Or the latest.
Absolutely. There's a whole host of
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you another example, self-driving cars. So you can imagine the shipping and logistics business is a $200-300 billion industry. It's giant. There is it's just everywhere. It's pervasive. You drive on I-10 and you're just bombarded by all these hopefully not hit, but there's all these semi trucks everywhere, right?
Yeah, that frightens the devil out of me, I got to tell you. Yeah, but go on.
In a not so distant future, you're going to have a dedicated line of semi trucks driving 24/7, and there'll be nobody inside. There'll be like a caravan.
I've seen that, and I've seen the promotional videos. But you just said something then that I really like. If they did drive in line like a convoy and stayed on one side, I'd feel so much better about that, giving us the chance to drive the left lane and go past this convoy. You know what I mean? You know
Absolutely.
what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And people tend to fear the unknown. But what's crazy about a lot of these innovations we're really speaking of is they're not necessarily unknown. They're not coming from nowhere. All you've got to do is really open your eyes and look around and see what's coming and be able to map that and extrapolate it to the future. And it's not really a big stretch. It's all there.
Mm. Yeah, man, fabulous. I mean, boy, in our lifetime. I've seen them testing and thousands of miles and all sorts of things. No fatalities. Only one fatality as far as the personal car is concerned. But we're not going to stop it. It is there. It's the future, and it's going to happen. It's all. Did you ever see the Jetsons when you were a kid?
Yeah, I did. Absolutely.
No, these futurists all got howled down. I know a futurist guy, and he's pretty smart. And I tell you what, he was on the ball. So, what does Spark Partners say about business today then?
Well, in business, if you can imagine, what you're trying to do is you're trying to take your value and deliver it to your customers. And, really what innovation is the ability to help other people achieve their needs in new and better ways. So businesses today, you've got a couple of different camps. You've got people that, like you said earlier, have their head in the sand. A lot of people want are expecting everything to return back to normal, quote unquote, right? You have another camp that is, and the other camp is looking at, okay, how can I realign and reshift my business so that I can capitalize on what's coming next? And really, we want to work on the second bunch, because oftentimes, no matter how hard you try, for those that have their heads in the sand, you're not going to get them to open their eyes. We want to work with people that have a vision of their company and are able to step aside from their fears and work with somebody to help realign their business. Fear, and by the way, so Adam talks a lot about innovation and a lot about, obviously part of the group as well. What I talk about is fear. Fear really is an interesting tool that the human body and the human mind has been sort of programmed in. So fear was put in place so that we don't burn ourselves or get eaten by a tiger and all that. But here's the deal: when you let fear guide you without you understanding it, it takes you to a place of inactivity, and it basically immobilizes you. What I say is, whatever you're fearful of, that's your compass. You want to go towards that, because that's going to teach you about what you need how you need to grow inside in order to maximize your potential and be able to overcome that fear.
Well, when we come back, we're going to find out exactly what Spark Partners do provide and who are their primary audience, how you can benefit from it, listeners. And I know I have CEOs listening, and I know that we have a lot of business people listen to the show. So that's going to be pretty good. But I got to take a word from our sponsor, which I'm pleased to do. And, of course, that's the 49ers Golf and Country Club. Do you play golf, Manny?
Not enough.
It's a lovely little course. And we'll be right back. Tucson Means Business is proudly sponsored by the 49ers Golf and Country Club. They're at 12,000 Tanque Verde Road. If you're not in Tucson, somewhere around the world, but visiting, sometime you may get here, please go to the 49ers, even if you don't play golf, because there are wonderful things to do, like eat at the fabulous Rincon Grill restaurant. And then there's the fitness center, brand new, with everything that you need. Isn't that right, Casey?
That's right, Mark.
I'm speaking with the director of memberships and tournaments and sales. He's just about chief cook and bottle washer, but he can tell us all about this wonderful fitness club. It's only brand new, really.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that. We're really proud of the way that we keep it looking brand new, but it's already 5 years old, that building.
Is it really?
Yep. But
God, you'd never know that.
We upkeep it. We keep it looking good, looking fresh, smelling good. We try to keep the equipment maintained. That's important for people that are coming to a gym. They want to use clean, fresh, well-working equipment.
My word, they do. And one of the important things, I think, with this fitness club is that it's not your traditional. I mean, you've got locals coming to it from right across town. There are lots of different separate type events on, aren't there? From fitness type, I can't remember them all, but the lady that runs it does a fabulous job.
Great job.
In fact, there's a few of them get together and create all these different sort of sequences.
They do. They've got a lot of different group fitness classes is kind of what we, I want to say it's kind of a niche market, really. There is lots of gym offerings around, obviously.
Sure.
You got your big box store kind of fitness centers that are, they have hundreds of pieces of equipment. They've got classes that are scheduled and routine, where ours are unique. You get to know the instructors really well. They're your friends, and then when you don't show
personal
up,
care of you, yeah.
they do, when you don't show up to class, they text you and find out, hey,
you okay?
How come you're not there?
That's a nice idea.
It is. So
from yoga through to boombox this or that, I mean, they do it all.
There is. We offer a little bit of everything. We even, we have kids dance classes. We even have a woman teaching ballroom dance classes right now. On Wednesday nights right now, we have goat yoga, where you have these little pygmy goats. They dress them up in tutus and they walk on your back. I don't get it, but apparently it's all the rage. So.
Can you imagine that? Dressed up in a tutu, walking on your back. But that's a goat. Oh, it sounds like a lot of fun indeed. And of course, the one other area is the pool.
Yep, the pool. We have a 5-lane Junior Olympic-sized heated year-round pool, which it's tough to find heated water in Tucson in the winter, believe it or not. But we maintain it. We have a youth program that swims year-round. We've also got aqua classes right now on Mondays. We offer them. The pool's just been really a great resource for the club and its members.
That's fabulous. So there you go. You get a really good picture, don't you? But go to the website and, Casey, that address again.
Website is 49ercc.com. It's all spelled out. FORTYNINERCC.com.
You did a good job, man.
Hey, thanks.
Casey Poluvchak, lovely fellow. Talk to him personally about anything, memberships, the club, whatever you want to do. He's the director of memberships and tournaments at the infamous, which is the hidden jewel of the desert, at the 49ers Golf and Country Club. Proudly bringing us Tucson Means Business. You're listening to Tucson Means Business with your host, Mark Bishop, and my special guest is Manny Terran, or Manny Terran, I should say. Let's talk about what Spark Partners provide and who are your primary audience.
Absolutely. So Spark Partners, we provide three main things. We provide an advisory or a consultancy to help business owners, in particular, and business leaders, realign their mission and their business model to capitalize on emerging trends. So if you can imagine, if we use the example of the ocean and the sea, we help build a lighthouse to guide them into a safe harbor and really help them to not only survive. We're not interested in survival. We're interested in somebody thriving. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. The second thing we do is we provide courses. We are about to launch Think Innovation course, which is 30 plus videos. It's an online course that is a wellspring of all of Adam and all of my burn trust on innovation, sales execution, and innovation leadership. so that the business leader can to really arm themselves with the right information, and their mindset is going to be shifted so that they can actually make these bold moves in new directions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing we do is we provide community. Community is we connect all these innovators and these other people that are part of our community. We have a podcast that we perform every week. If you go to sparkpartners.com, you can find our podcast there. You can look for it on your favorite platform like Apple or Spotify. And that community really is, look, here's the deal. As a business organization, we want to raise all boats, right? Is that what they say about the rising tide? And as part of doing that, we got to make sure that we're always connecting with our community, connecting with business leaders, and helping them out with growing their business.
Well, Manny, there's a lot of companies say they're going to do what you're proposing to do. There's a lot of companies aren't as ingenuous, and caring and just, want to do the right thing. I think with what you've mentioned there and some of the things you're going to be doing, prove that you're going to be hands-on and you're going to be there like a community, because there's nothing worse than this online business learning and all that, and particularly with COVID. I mean, I miss terribly, being able to go and have a beer with one of the clients or go and do this and that. You know what I mean? It's stifled communication and the human experience a lot. So yeah. I think, people are starving for that. What do you and Adam, do you think each offer as experienced business leaders that you think others can learn from you?
So here's kind of a funny analogy that I use to discuss, Adam and I. Adam really is like Merlin. He is brilliant in being able to look in the future. He's had many hundred predictions that have actually come to pass, and it isn't some crazy divination. It's really just looking at the market and understanding, reading a lot and understanding where things are going. So he's like Merlin, right? And I'm like King Arthur. I'm out there on the horse with my sword drawn, taking arrows. And so I ran a business, as Chair I mentioned before, and I've helped hundreds of other businesses grow as well. And so I have a really good understanding of the startup experience, going from zero to sustainable growth.
No, that's fabulous.
Revenues.
That's terribly important. Yes.
Yeah. And then Adam has more experience on taking the sustainable growth and taking it to the next level. And I've got so many examples of times when either, me and my experience or Adam and his experience has helped companies grow to the point where there was one example where a company got bought for $5 million by a private equity group. Mm-hmm. Adam came in and helped them retool their value statement and their value, and they were able to spin it out for $35 million without doing much more than changing the position of what they did. Remarkable.
I get sick of hearing those stories. I don't know about you.
I get excited, actually.
Well, yes, all right. Excited first and then think, God almighty, what have I got to do one of those? Give us an idea, if you will, of what are some of Spark Partners' core values, ideas?
All right. So here's the deal. A lot of what we teach in our both in our course as well as in our consultancy is very, very unconventional wisdom. So one idea that's thrown around a lot in these circles is people say, focus on your core. Focus on your core business. Focus on delivering what you do better, faster, cheaper than before. And what we teach is pretty much the opposite. We say that 80% of your day-to-day should be looking forward, not inward. So that's an example of a way you're going to be able to strive and survive and thrive in a new economy. You're not going to do it by making something better, faster, cheaper. You're going to do it by creating brand new value and being able to do it in a sustainable manner. So that's one thing we teach. I'll give you a quick example. If you think about Apple was on the ropes and had about 40 days cash, and it was about to hang up the shingle here of we're done. They were building the computers, and they made a big decision to walk away from that. I mean, they still did it, but they spent all their effort on this new concept of what ended up being the iPhone and the iPod. And by doing so, by moving away from their core business, again, very much unconventional wisdom, they were able to shift into a brand new market and become the world's most valuable company today. Mm-hmm. If they hadn't have done that, they wouldn't be around, or they'd be a shadow of what they are now.
Wow. Is that a common story?
Examples of that.
Is that a well-known story, that about Apple?
I believe so. If not, you can certainly look online anywhere. It's all out there. And there's many other examples of companies that were on the ropes and made a big shift. Again, it takes lots of courage, and it's very painful. But in the end, it's a lot less painful than not making the decision to change your business into a new direction.
Well, I mean, I guess you could point right now, 2 huge companies. They're up to something. One's Google and the other one is Apple. And they've got some things going on that I read about, but it's hard to define what's inside this new building. Do you know at all?
Well, not necessarily, but you can read between the lines. Those are 2 big powerhouses in being able to capitalize on this new economy that we're in. And of course, the other trends that we talk about at Spark Partners is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So AI right now is a huge boom. The next trillionaire, the first trillionaire potentially, I don't know, we'll see if Jeff gets there in time, but the first trillionaire could be walking the earth right now with an idea in their head for AI.
Really?
So if you know Mark Cuban, the entrepreneur.
Sure, yep.
That's one thing he said, I don't know, about a month ago. He says the next trillionaire is walking the earth right now with an idea on AI. And so AI is one of the trends. The gig economy, so everybody moving away from the 9 to 5 and now working from themselves, working from home, all that. You've got mobility, which is, the ability to, like right now, we're both operating on having this podcast. I'm in my office and you're in your home office, and it's a new way of doing business, right? Everything's changed.
Well, yeah, and yeah, it is at the moment because of this darn COVID thing.
Yep. And then the last trend is asynchronous communication. So what we're doing right now is we're talking in a manner, and then you're going to record this and you're going to rebroadcast it, and it's going to be available in 10 years. Somebody's going to be able to listen to this. And so that's going to even expand even more so. Text messaging, instant message is really just at the start. We think we've saturated it, but we're not even close. And that goes for the other trends as well.
Yeah, there's going to have to be some improvements, though, I think, Manny, and some laws. I mean, it's starting to drive me nuts already with the texting. And I know it's going to be huge in 21 compared to the old traditional email marketing, but, it can't just be willy-nilly. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry, no matter what. And you could be opening up into bad viruses, into hackers. You know what I mean? There's got to be some form of guidance or protection for the consumer, I think.
Oh, there likely will be. And if there isn't, there's a market opportunity right there for you.
What was I going to tell you? Oh, a shift, divergence. I'll share a story with you, which I think it's sort of, and because there are entrepreneurs who do different things, but a long time ago in Australia, we being a small island continent, of course, have nowhere near the population. In fact, you've got more in Texas than we have in the whole country. But we were, very keen on television and movies and everything else, and we grew up with American content and British content before our own industry sort of got off the ground. But we were limited on channels. I think we had 3 channels, and then Channel 10, whom I work for, but 4 channels, and the ABC, which is like your PBS, except the government took 20 cents out of people's taxes every year to pay for the ABC, because they weren't allowed to have commercials or advertisements on it. But now they do in sponsorships. Here, of course, they're on, every 8 weeks, whatever, they're begging on TV, hoping that you'll send some money in for them to keep them on air, as well as the governmental grants. So I saw an opportunity where we had a Panam sat, which was the satellite flying over Australia. And it had all these signals on it, CNN, CNBC, God knows what. I think there was about 50 channels or more, because you guys have been spoiled. You've had 200 channels for years. Anyway, I brought in dishes from Mexico and thought, you know what? there's something here that we can show free-to-air satellite television. So I formed a company called AFTUS, Australia's free-to-air satellite television service. And then I had to figure out how on earth we were going to sell these things and market them. But the product was you were going to get a lot more channels to watch in television than you could get right now. So we had in Australia, you know, you have strip malls in America and there's lots of little shops and then we have the same sort of thing, but often they were houses with little backyards and you could put a big 2.3 meter dish in the back and take off the clothesline if you like and put the dish on that. But then run cables inside. And we had a lot of stores. A lot of guys had businesses where they fixed, TVs, video recorders, all that sort of stuff. And you would take it to them to be fixed. And they would stack all these TVs with the back of them, which are quite ugly, up against the beautiful shop windows. So you would walk by, and you're not going to look because, I mean, it's just, dead. So when this thing happened and we got it going, we convinced these people to turn the TVs around, stack them on top of each other, which, when I think about it now, it's like going into a Best Buy looking at all the screens, isn't it? Yeah. And instead, you got to see all these American channels with sports and God knows what that was going on, and it just blew their brains, and it took off profusely. And it ended up being sold by my partner because I came to America after meeting my wife on a cruise. So that came first. Of course. And I had to walk from it. But, I always remind her she's worth $1 million. So, and more. There you go. So, but what I'm getting at is the disruption of providing a service that wasn't there and finding a way to make it happen. So Absolutely. That's sort of right on the lines you're doing, isn't it?
Absolutely. It really takes a lot of courage and grit to look at an idea and create it into reality. And that's why I love business, because I'm a creator. Yeah. And I love other creators.
I can see
people
that.
that are business people.
Yep.
People that are business people don't consider themselves creators or creative types, right? Because a creative is a creator that has something new to offer. Mm-hmm. And so I like to really help the business leader open their eyes to a bigger world and a bigger way of doing things. Mm-hmm. And I love unconventional wisdom. I just thrive on it. And I feel as though oftentimes as in life, we are presented with a certain path. And oftentimes that path will take us to success. There's no doubt. But the alternate path will take us to just blinding levels of success. And that's really what I want to help people do, is to get to that point and align their business and really themselves to be able to stretch their wings and climb towards the sun.
And that's fantastic, because when people are in their wheelhouse and they're happy and it's coming from natural and inside, you want to get up in the morning. You want to get on with life. And I'm exactly like you that way. That's why I got into this business after getting out of the media for so many years of radio and television. I was retired. In fact, I still am. But when I took this on for Tucson, it was to help businesses, to help them be able to do something new. But I tell you what, 3 years ago when I started it, podcasting wasn't as well known or acceptable from a point of view of how it can help a company or business. I've got clients now getting amazing returns and stuff that they can't get with any other form of media done correctly. But it took a lot of convincing. And at the end of the day, it's a new mode. It's a new way. And that's the way it's happening.
Absolutely.
And I think you've got something terrific that's going to happen with Spark. I mean, I'd love to. What I got to do is we'll have some lunch together, I think. And I want to bounce some ideas off you. And I would love to be able to see what you and Adam, this sounds fantastic, what you're going to be offering. All the businesses here. Now, this is not just Tucson either. You're going to be national, aren't you?
We have international clients. I mean, I have people that I talk with that are in the Middle East. I've got South American contacts. Same with Adam. So we want to make sure that we're, again, this new economy, the world is getting more and more flat every year. And, we can host clients from anywhere, really.
Sure.
And with the advent of Zoom and all these other tools and technologies, we can do it pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, lots of good platforms other than Zoom coming out as well. Are you hoping for Tucson business to really get behind you and Adam with this, Manny?
No, I'm not hoping. I know it's going to happen.
All right.
Because hope to me.
Do you know, Manny, the Tucson business?
Yes. Yes. And so here's the word about when I ran Azterra. And there was one word there was a couple words we couldn't say, a few of these 4-letter words that we couldn't say in our business, and one of those was hope. Because when you're in the business of getting things done, I don't like to hear the word hope. Well, I hope we can get him to say yes. Well, I hope that she can do this. Well, I would rather not hope. I'd rather know. I'd rather go in there and understand if it's going to happen or not going to happen, because we need to get things done. And hope is a word that's reserved for fairy tales.
There you go. Totally agree. Very positive, and it programs the mind. And I remember when I used to, going back in the early days and so on, resume, I always wrote on the bottom what David Henry Thoreau would say, or a statement, but I'd add to it, I just like getting the job done. And for me, it was like positive. It was going to be. It was not if we could or whatever, but somehow we would, Well, look, I want my listeners now, for starters, we've got www.sparkpartners.com. That's the organization URL. A lot of reading on that. Right. They can find out a lot of information. The LinkedIn.com/company/the Spark Partners.
Right.
Right. Anyway, guys, if you're driving and you're hearing this, don't worry about writing anything down. It's all going to be up on the side of Tucson Business Radio X here. Just go to that, www.tucsonbusinessradiox.com. It's also going to be on all the different platforms out there across the globe, but it stays on our channel and my channel here in Tucson, so you can pick up all the addresses, all the phone numbers, everything else you need is going to be right there. Twitter, the whole darn thing. I'd love to wish you, you and Adam, Manny, all the very best of British, as they say, even though I'm Australian. And let's hope it really goes, not hope. We know it's going to go well for you. And that you indeed help a lot of companies, not only here in beautiful old Tucson, but in the Pueblo, but across the nation, and in fact around the world.
Yes, thank you very much, Mark, for the opportunity. And I think that in the end, what business is and what life is the interaction with other people. We don't live in the middle of Siberia here. We're interacting with business associates and clients and family and friends, and so I believe everybody that is aligned with helping people achieve their best is certainly a friend of mine. So I consider you a friend, Mark.
Well, I appreciate that very, very much indeed. And I look forward to meeting you in person, Manny. And so the best of luck to you and Adam, okay? And give him my regards.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, there we have it. Manny Turan, sparkpartners.com, everybody. Spark Partners, you're going to hear a lot about them. And what an interesting fellow, because you know what? Most engineers I've ever met, and I don't mean any put down here or anything, but they're a little bit more stoic and, not as open and cordial and speaking and so on. And but he's very good and is a pleasure to listen to and enjoyable. And a rather clever fellow. So if you're in business, by gee, I'd be looking at what they've got right now, because they're going to be leaders in their field. Okay, hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back with another Tucson Means Business, proudly sponsored by the 49ers Golf and Country Club, Tucson's hidden jewel. And I'll see you then.